Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Teacher Patrick, and welcome back to IELTS Monkey for another edition of the mock test, the mock speaking test that you're going to experience on the IELTS exam. As always, I will be your examiner today, and you will be the candidate. You will be following along and answering my questions as best as you can based on the timing we have up here in the corner. Okay? Now, last time I gave you a little tip about speaking task 1, and today I want to give you another tip, asking for clarification. Sometimes you just aren't sure what a word means in speaking task part 1. And remember, we can do this in part 3 as well, but we'll talk about that later. So, I want to make clear that if you don't understand 100% what a word means on the IELTS exam, you absolutely can ask your examiner to give you a definition. Okay? This is especially true in part 1. So, a lot of students are worried because they think if they ask the examiner, it's going to lower their score, and this simply is not true. It's not going to lower your score, and it's perfectly fine and okay to do, but many students are afraid to do it. However, you want to practice this at home. Practice being clear and direct with your examiner. For example, if the examiner asks you about practical skills, they probably wouldn't in part 1, but this is just an example, and you have a general idea about what practical skills are, but you're not 100% sure, go ahead and ask. I'm sorry, can you please give me a definition for practical skills? Or, I'm sorry, can you please define practical skills for me? And the examiner will say, sure, no problem. Practical skills are things or skills that we do every day, like fixing our cars or cooking or managing our money, different from academic skills like mathematics and history and geography. Oh, okay. Thank you, teacher. And then you can begin answering your question. So remember, if you get stuck, don't worry. It's okay. You can always ask the examiner to give you a definition for a word you don't understand. So, having said that, are you ready to go? Make sure, as always, you have grabbed or taken a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil to take notes in part 2, and then let's get ready. Let's get started. This is the mock speaking test for the International English Language Testing System conducted on the 5th of September 2023. The examiner is Patrick Zombie, examiner number 983408, and the candidate is you, candidate number 442567. Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Sonby. Can you tell me your full name, please? Okay, thank you. And what should I call you? Great, thank you. Can I see your identification, please? Okay, that's fine. Now, in the first part of the test, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. First of all, let's talk about your family. Do you have a large or a small family? How much time do you spend with members of your family? What sort of things do you like to do with your family? Were your parents strict when you were a child? Okay, great. Thank you. Let's move on to talk about the weekend. How do you usually spend your weekends? Which day do you prefer more, Saturday or Sunday? What did you do last weekend? Do you have any plans for next weekend? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's move on to talk about the library. How often do you go to the library? Did you enjoy going to the library when you were a child? Do you think that the library is a good place for reading these days? Do many people in your country like going to the library? Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about this topic for 1 to 2 minutes. But before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say, and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand? Do you have your paper and your pencil? All right, great. Let's get started. So, I'd like you to describe a time when you taught a friend or a relative something. Okay, now remember you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please? Okay, great. Thank you. And do you like teaching people new things? All right, thank you so much. So, we've been talking about a time when you actually taught a friend or a relative something, and I'd like to discuss with you a couple more general questions related to this. Let's consider, first of all, practical skills. Do you think schools in your country should teach more practical skills? What are some skills that young people can teach the older generation? Thank you. Why do you think some older people may find it difficult to use new technology? Great. Thank you so much. Let's move on to talk about learning. What is the difference between learning face to face with a teacher and learning something by yourself? Do you think it's better to learn alone or with other students? What types of courses do you think are the most important these days to help students succeed in the future? Okay, thank you so much. That's the end of the speaking test. Now, remember, as always, I want you to go back and look at those band descriptors just to kind of see how you think you did and maybe think about some ways you can start practicing to improve your overall English level. As always, thank you for stopping by today. Stay tuned for speaking test, mock speaking test number 4, which I will probably release at some point later this week. And until then, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.